how is prayer a part of your day?
Okay, so when I think of prayer, I did look at the definition. I did take a little Google, and it says request from God is what it says. So I guess it's like you're asking for something. But I my when I think of prayer, I think of meditation. This is what I think of because I am a big meditator and I call that my prayer. And in doing that, I ask for things, but I also say thank you. And I also just think and listen. But this is my prayer. And whenever I see that word prayer, I think of meditation. So how is prayer part of my day? Well, every morning when I get up, it's the first thing I do. Usually before I get out of bed, sometimes I'll actually get out of bed and get on my knees or something like that. But it's the very first thing that I do is to meditate, to say thank you for waking up. And, we start from there.
So that's what everybody else has been talking about too, that it's not necessarily always requesting, but it's building a relationship with God, that connection. So that yeah, it's important.
Yeah, and maybe it's even like talking to God, quote unquote. Maybe that's praying, And so whenever you're talking to God, you're praying, I don't know, maybe. I kind of see it like that because when you're meditating and you're in that space and you're talking to God, whether you're doing that in the morning or in the afternoon or whenever you're doing it, that's what you're doing, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and that's yeah, that building that connection and that relationship is important. And at least for me, that helps keep me going. The listening part is a challenge sometimes for me because I just want, but
Yeah.
I'm working on that. So one of the things that people I think find to be challenging when they're praying is being able to stay focused on their prayer. So that was why I asked that question. Is there something that you do to help you stay focused during your meditation?
Well, one thing that I do is I listen to sounds. I listen to nature sounds or to singing bowls or something like this because it helps me to focus on that on it helps me to focus the singing bowls in particular, the chimes, even like the rain or the whales. I like to listen to whales sometimes, but just to hear nature sounds, I think you could say. I don't know if a chime is a natural sound, but God is nature. And so that's part of my meditation. That's part of getting in the zone to talk to God, to hear those sounds. So that's one very big way that I stay focused by having that external thing to listen to.
I like that too. When I'm walking, I don't ever have headphones on, even though I love music. I being connected and being out and hearing the nature stuff is part of my, when I'm walking and trying to connect with God. So,
And it's always so funny, and I'm sure this happens to everybody who listens to stuff like this. When you think of something really poignant, that's when they, really chime that bell, or that's when the birds start singing really loudly. You know that, oh yeah, I'm on track. You know,
yeah,
yeah.
the feedback part.
The feedback, yes. The
Yeah,
feedback.
exactly. So, when did you first discover the power of prayer, Laura? Is this something that you've been doing your whole life, or is it something that came to you later in life?
I think, I've always prayed, asked and talked and all, but it wasn't, but formally and really doing it every day and making it a part of, my everyday. I'm really thinking about this now. I guess it was like maybe a year before COVID. So that is actually not that long. That's been like 5 years, but I remember always wanting to like meditate to really to do it every day and to do it like a practice. And I had thought about it for many years before I actually did. And maybe I would do it once, but not, maybe once a week, maybe whatever. But about, let's say, 5 or 6 years ago, I've started to do it every single day. And it really does make a difference when you do something every single day, right? Why did I start to do it? I don't exactly know why. Why do I do anything? Because I heard God tell me to do it. And I guess, I got the vibe to start meditating regularly every day. And I say it was a year before COVID because I remember when COVID happened and, everybody was so like freaked out. And I was too, but I was so much less freaked out than I think I would have been if I hadn't been meditating for a year. And I remember saying to someone, saying that to someone, that having had that connection, regular connection every morning to God, having that connection every day for a year really got me ready for COVID and just the ups and downs, because you're just more, you can be more steady when you pray regularly, because that there's some energy, some force, some, God has your back. You're not doing this all by yourself. And, I don't know where this comes from, but things are going to happen whether we want them to or not. Life is happening. So you can make plans and whatever. But, prayer is really the best thing, in my opinion, because that just covers you for whatever, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. It's like, no, this is just a thing that happens and we're going to get through this. Yeah, I think I discovered the power of prayer because I was thinking a lot about things that I wanted to happen. But when I was really thinking about it, it was like, oh, I want this to happen. But then you think about all the reasons why it's not going to happen, right? So you're like, oh, I want to do this, but then, oh, but I can't because of X, Y, and Z. And then I realized that, you know what? I should stop saying why it's not going to happen. I should just say, I want this to happen. This is going to happen. And so I started to talk to God about it and say, oh, can we, how is this going to happen? Okay, it's going to happen. We're going to work on this. It's going to happen. We're going to do this together. It was sort of like a conversation, but I'm not going to say, oh, it's going to happen like this. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to do that. It was just more like I'm protected. I'm, carried, let's say, and having that feeling, it's something that I needed to connect with a lot. Like, so not just in the morning, but all through the day, you pray, you check in, you say thank you.
Do you pray together with your family at all? Or is this
Well,
more?
well, I am all alone because my 3 kids are all gone. So I'm all alone and my husband passed away. So I have no one here. But what I do, I don't know if this counts. I send them meditations. And so like sometimes they're guided meditations or even sounds, like I say, because honestly, like sounds are healing, some sounds anyway, as an aside, music that talks about all kinds of bad things, that's bad. And that is a sound that is messing with people. And that's not a good sound. But,
Right.
The sounds of the whales, if you're feeling depressed, listen to that for an hour, So I do send my children meditations. I send them affirmations and prayers, right? I as children who didn't necessarily identify with the Christian church, let's just say,
Right.
it's easier for them to think of it as a meditation than as a prayer because, sometimes, and they're actually getting better at this. And it's not just my kids, it's like a whole generation.
Yeah.
They see, things in the quote unquote church that just don't seem right. And so they just don't want anything to do with it. And I also felt like that myself growing up because, or, once I was old enough to know better,
Right.
anyway, you kind of throw out the baby with the bathwater and not wanting to be religious, not wanting to go to church, not talking about Jesus, don't talk about that, and they don't even know why they don't want to talk about it. So I call it a meditation, even though we know it's a prayer. And they like it. They've been doing them regularly, and that's how I sort of got them into praying. And they're coming back. They'll come back too because it's good.
It makes them feel good, and that makes them feel understood, I think. Whereas maybe organized religion is not often like that. I think the prayer part of it or the meditation part of it is. Do you have a favorite prayer or
well, you know what? I'm going to tell you this one right here. It's Saint Teresa. And it's let nothing disturb you, let nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Nothing is wanting to him who possesses God. God alone suffices. And I've had this for 25 years or so. And I love it. This is a prayer that I will, it says, let nothing disturb you. I'm going to cry, let nothing frighten you. It's like, that's all that you need, because we're so scared of life and things happening. And so we don't, so we get freaked out, or we get stuck or whatever because of fear, you know?
Yep.
So
exactly.
This really always really touched me,
How do you tie in? Why is meditation important to you and your art?
As far as the art is concerned, I do especially, and not just for the religious work, but for the secular work as well. I will say a prayer before I start painting and just ask that, this is the way that the image comes out the way that it's supposed to, in the right way, because I like to say that I follow the scripture text when I paint. Like if, I follow the text. It might be weird because, the people are not, they're people of color or what have you, whatever. That's the shocking thing. But the text is always the text of the Bible. I'm not rewriting the text of the Bible. I'm not putting any real spin on it, and I could do, as an artist, I could do anything. But I want to depict what I'm reading, because I feel like, I don't know if it's my job, but that's what I want to do. I want to depict the Bible scripture. Honestly, whether I believe it all or not, if I'm painting from the Bible, I want to respect what I'm seeing there. I'm not going to make things up, right? So I pray that I get it right, and that, my arm doesn't start to hurt, and that, that I have energy and strength to finish this thing, and to make it so that people, when they see it, that they are touched by it and that it speaks to them, because that really is that's what I want, and even like going to church or not, you can, I want people to see the art and to be touched by it, whether you consider yourself a heathen or whatever. And I've had plenty of people who have appreciated the art, who say that they have nothing to do with religion, but it goes beyond that some kind of way, I think, I hope, and I pray for that this work, it can be universally appreciated, because it is for everyone, so that is something that I do pray for before I start.
Do you get different feedback from people from different religions? I mean, do different religious people see different things in the art or are touched by different parts? Have you heard anything that way? I mean, or is it pretty much you just get back, this was really powerful for me?
I don't know. It is kind of interesting, because I've had people, mostly church people, they appreciate because it's something maybe they haven't seen so much in their church, but the church people or not the church people, it's just something human, I think. We are souls that are connected to this God energy. And we as human beings need that. And we need to be connected. And we are connected whether we want to be or not. So even though you want to reject God, you kind of can't, because we're all connected with our souls. You know, the energy is all connected. So embrace it, you know, and come
Yep.
and look at this picture where you can see one thing I've had many people say is Jesus, he always looks like he's with the people. You know, he's right down there in the paintings. You know, he's not like off to the side. He's right there with the people, you know, because his message was it was for the people, you know, love one another, right? So
Yep.
this is for everybody, not just for religious people. More and more, I would like to say that, you know, to
Yeah.
the non-religious people, and not to have my work so separate. I feel that I have really separated the religious and the secular a lot, you know, the children's books, whatever. But, you know, the pictures of Jesus and the religious imagery, it's really like a human story. It's not necessarily just the Bible, you know? And I believe that. I think that's true, you know, maybe organizers, the people might think, no, there's more to it.
I loved the Mary Magdalene because she's like one of my favorites. And so being able to see her progression was just really powerful because she is not appreciated the way she should be.
She was literally the first person that Jesus talked to. And how can it be that women are marginalized and like second class citizens, and we're less than? Like, how is that possible when actually Jesus was resurrected and he came to talk to her and told her to go to tell everybody, right? And it
Yep.
says that in the Bible. We didn't make that up. I think that anybody can look at that Mary Magdalene story and say, wow, this is a powerful woman here. I recognize that people who are going to church faithfully, that they appreciate seeing these images, not even just, you know, I want to say non-traditional, but the Ethiopian Christian art style has been around since the 4th century. So that's very traditional. It is not non-traditional. It's just not Western, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, people, they want to see that. They want to see non-Western people depicted, but they also want to see Mary Magdalene. You know, they want to see Jesus standing on the cross and not like suffering, you know, like in the Sawani cross that I did. And that's the way he was depicted originally. So it's sort of like, once again, going back to the Bible and illustrating it the way that it's written there. It's sort of like stripping things down from the, you know, taking away the commentary and just like showing what is written, for better or for worse. I hope that we can sort of reclaim that as you know, the Bible story, the Jesus story, the message, you know, which is not just Jesus' story, by the way. You know, there are other masters that said these same kinds of things, you know, and there are other religions, you know, surprise, surprise, right?
Yeah.
There are other people who believe other things. You know, I think that we need to we need to get together more, right? The ecumenical, non-denominational, whatever it is. We need to get together more. We need to be the peace and love people. That's what I like to say. You know, we don't want to be the death people and the war people and the hatred people. We want to be the peace and love people, no matter what your religion is, because really, peace and love is a religion.
Where has God guided you in prayer in like a way or a direction that surprised you?
Just let go and go with the flow. This is many times prayer has guided me to saying, stop thinking about this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's that. And it's always kind of a surprise. I mean, still, right? It's like, that's usually well, not always the answer, but the answer usually is just relax about it. You know, go and do something else. Go and, you know, go and listen to some music or read a book or whatever, or, you know, go and paint, do something else. Don't worry about this, because this is going to be okay. It's going to work out. And when I pray and I get that feeling, that is, it's always a surprise to me. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna relax. And I don't know, one day it's not gonna be a surprise anymore, and I'm gonna continually relax. This is the goal. Because things keep coming up. Life.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You go, you pray about it, you meditate, you think about it, you get the inspiration to relax and just go with it and know that you're going to be okay. And that really does surprise me, even though it shouldn't anymore.
What role does prayer play in your ability to create works of art?
Especially with Mary Magdalene, because I had been working on it for a really long time and I needed to finish. I really did. And I remember praying as I was painting and asking to make this go smoother, let this work out well, show me how to paint this thing and whatever. And a few times I made marks with my hand that I wasn't consciously making, and they worked.
Wow.
They were good lines.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I needed to erase. It was like, oh, okay, let me go in that direction. It happened several times, so that I made a mention of it. And I said and this is a new thing. I'm painting for 30 years now. So this just happened a few times this year working on Mary Magdalene. I remember very clearly where my brush is doing something different. And I said, thank you very much, because I asked for that. It wasn't just randomly making mistakes. I said, help me to do this better. That was a surprise.
That's awesome.
Mystical.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll keep happening.
Oh, I think it will. I know that I do that a lot with when I'm writing or before interviews, I always ask for intervention, help me to hear what I'm supposed to hear, help me to write what needs to be written. And there are times where I'm like, I am not able to do this. I'm completely distracted. And then I, ask for that help, and then it just all flows really well. So I know that it's not just me. So it'll keep happening, Laura, as long as you keep asking, I think. I think that's the
Right.
you've got to ask,
Exactly. We have to ask. And that's why prayer is important, because, it's not as though, I don't believe that God is just going to not look at us and not recognize, not know we're here if we don't pray. But
Right.
it's even better if you do,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel good. It makes me remember, which is something that we constantly need to do when things are, the earth is a little negative, so it's good to have to keep your vibration high. And I do that through praying and through meditating and through constant communication with with the energy that is guiding all of us, otherwise known as God,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Nope, that's perfect. So what kind of prayer practice would you recommend to somebody who's new to prayer?
Those guided meditations and listening to nature. There's so many apps, and it sounds totally crazy. If my mother asked me about praying and I told her to get an app, it would be like, what are you talking about? But especially for young people, especially for people who don't want to pray or don't think they need to or don't know anything about it or don't think it's for them or blah, blah, blah. Tell them to listen to meditation. And it could even be one thing that I love are Psalms.
Yeah.
Even if you're listening to somebody read the Psalms, you can find that online easily. Go to that is meditation. That is prayer. So if you don't know where to start, hey, listen to the Psalms.
Yeah, it kind of covers all of it. There's the happy
Yes.
Psalms, sad Psalms, the I'm really angry Psalms. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, too, I remember all through my growing up, even when I rejected church, I always read the Psalms and listened to Psalms because it's poetry. And also it's mostly uplifting. There are some bits that are not, but it's mostly uplifting and it makes you feel good, you know? And that I think is what we want to do when we pray, to raise our vibration so that we feel better. Because I don't want to feel bad, you know, and there are so many things that can make us feel bad, you know? So, you know, like if you listen to the news and stuff like that, you know, you don't want to do that. But just to keep your energy up, to be positive, you know, to keep positive and to have a positive outlook, you know, even if it looks really, really bad.
Was there anything else that you were thinking about that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, I would just say, you know, that I do want to make the point that, you know, prayer is for everybody. You know, it's not for the religious people and not for the whatever, the spiritual, whatever, you know, and all these words with spiritual and Catholic and Christian and whatever you are,
Yeah.
Muslim, Islam, Jew, whatever. Prayer is for everybody because it's something that something good for human beings to do. You know, I don't want to tell people what to do, but prayer is good. You know, it will let you realize that you are connected.
Yeah.
You know, you are connected to something bigger than just you, you know, whether it's God or other people or the environment. You know, the whales, when you listen to the whales and all. And, you know, just generally having a positive attitude. That's what we really, you know, and in the face of bad stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen anyway.
That's right.
So you might as well let it happen with a smile.